I raised my sister all my life, but she just demanded that I don't come to her wedding because she would be embarrassed to tell people I raised her. So I reluctantly agreed, but on her wedding day her fiancé revealed her and our parents' actions in front of everyone and told them what she did, and now she wants me to come and save her. I, 32, female, was not invited to my sister's wedding, which took place 3 days ago, and it was really disheartening because I think that I was the one who had pretty much raised my sister ever since we were really young. She's around 8 years younger than me, and we basically grew up without our parents. When I was 10 years old, my parents just randomly woke up one day and decided that they were sick of being our parents. It was not very surprising since, even when I was really young, it was very apparent to me that they treated me very differently than other parents treated their kids. They always maintained a distance from me and my sister as they were not really interested in building a relationship with us. I tried really hard for a very long time to get close to them, but it never really worked, and they were always too busy for us. We had sitters to take care of us, and at other times, our grandparents. My sister was just 2 years old when our parents decided that we would be better off living with our grandparents, my dad's parents, on a more permanent basis. This decision was influenced by the start of a business together, but for that, it would require them to move away. Both my parents had been working at the time, but I guess the idea of being partners in a business really appealed to them, so they decided to take his coworker up on that offer. It worked out for them since they are doing pretty well right now and have been for the past many years. But while it was all great for them on the financial and work front, they gave up their family for this. My dad could have easily chosen to take his daughters with him, but he decided to leave us behind with our grandparents. It was just him and my mother who moved away to help set up the business. I was used to my parents ignoring me, but for them to completely abandon me and my sister and leave us with our aging grandparents was just something that nobody had seen coming, not even my grandparents. They were not happy about this arrangement, and they tried really hard to fight with my dad and get him to take us with them, but he insisted that he wouldn't be able to take out the time for us and we would just be another burden on him, which he couldn't afford because he and my mother needed to channel all their energy into the new business. My grandparents never told me about any of this and tried to put on a happy face, but they forgot that I had ears, and when they were fighting, they never really bothered to keep things quiet. So, at a very young age, I knew what their priorities were, and at the age of 10, I decided that I was never going to count on them for anything in my entire life. After they left, it's not like they were out of my life for good, but they would still come back during the holidays. The only difference was that after they left me with my grandparents, I decided not to have any expectations from them, and whenever they would visit, I would also maintain my distance from them. So, I think it's very obvious that I had a very strained relationship with my parents. My sister was very young at the time, so I tried to be there for her to the best of my abilities. Understanding why our parents were not always there for her like other parents was difficult, so I would just always dodge those questions. But as she grew older, it became more and more difficult for me to avoid those questions, and even my grandparents started finding it hard to not answer. Eventually, when she was around 14, we told her the truth, and after that, she started behaving in a very confused way with our parents whenever they would visit. By then, their business had started doing well, and they could have easily moved back, but they chose to stay away because they had already built a life for themselves there. We were already pretty grown, so they didn't see the point of coming back and believed that we would be able to handle our lives on our own now. After my sister found out about everything, she would try to act aloof when our parents would visit, but occasionally she would slip right into her old behavior around them. I didn't even blame her, it must have been confusing for her as a kid. Anyway, just like my parents, I had also built a life away from them, and gradually, I made my peace with their absence. I graduated high school, I graduated college, and I got my first job, all without them. Unfortunately, I lost my grandpa when I was 22 and my grandma when I was 26. The only thing that I'm thankful for is that they were at least here to witness me graduate high school and get my first job. By the time I lost both of them, I was doing reasonably well enough in life. Even my sister was 18 and an adult when our grandma passed away. Our maternal grandparents had passed away a very long time ago when I was in my early teens, so we were completely on our own after that. But I would honestly say that I had been raising my sister way before our grandparents passed away. Even though it was my parents who would always send money back home for us, I was the one who was actually raising her. Because, let's be real, our grandparents were pretty old, and half the time they didn't even know what was going on in our lives. They were just doing the best they could, but I was the one who was actually there for my sister. So the fact that she eventually picked our parents over me was all the more embarrassing and hurtful for me. My sister is 24 right now, and she got engaged a couple of months ago after dating her boyfriend for the past few years. From the beginning, I think I was the one who had actually encouraged her to pursue him after her last breakup. Her ex had broken her heart, and she was afraid of saying yes to her fiancé when he asked her out, but I had pushed her to give it a try, and this is where they ended up. But I guess that was not enough to warrant an invitation to her wedding. In fact, she even told me a couple of weeks back that I shouldn't be expecting an invitation since she didn't really want me at her wedding. The reason that she told me she did not want me at her wedding was something that I wouldn't have been able to imagine even in my wildest dreams. It was because she was basically picking our parents over me, like I already said. For context, our parents have moved back here, and this happened just 6 months ago. They think the business can run on its own now, and their constant monitoring is no longer required, so they have moved back. But I really think they moved back because they were bored of their lives there. The first thing that they did was try to rebuild a connection with us. Obviously, I did not encourage that at all, and I would try to spend as little time as I could with them. I treated them the same way that they had been treating me for the past 3 decades. I would act distant, and I would always tell them that I was busy whenever they would try to make plans with me. Eventually, they took the hint and stopped trying to bother me. But that's not what happened with my sister. Since she and I have been living separately ever since she graduated college, she had a very different attitude towards our parents and decided to welcome them into her life. Both her fiancé and I were kind of iffy about this idea because our parents suck at being parents, and let's not forget that they had been absent from our lives since forever. Now it felt a little weird that she was allowing them to just waltz back in like nothing had ever happened, but she believed that everyone deserved a second chance, and since she was about to get married, she was not about to act all vengeful and let that chance slip by. I found it a little weird, but it was her call to make, so I didn't question her about it much. I'll admit I did feel a little betrayed that she was welcoming them back into her life so openly, but I tried not to let it bother me too much because I really didn't think that it would take away from my importance in her life. However, that's exactly what happened. She started spending a lot of time with our parents, and of late, it felt like she had started avoiding me on purpose because she had started acting like she was too busy. Every time I would ask to meet her, she would tell me that she was too busy preparing for the wedding.